starts with hope, it gets intense, and then suddenly you're left wondering what went wrong. But don't worry, we've got you covered this Valentine's Day. We've called in the best in the business, or at least the best we could find, to help you with your relationship or love dilemmas.
Is your partner moving like a free agent, debating whether you're building for the future or just wasting wages on a flop?
Well, now it's time to listen to what the experts have to say.
Welcome back to AFTV, everyone. And Robbie, I mean, I can't believe you signed off on that piece of content. Julian and Ty giving love advice.
Honestly, right? There's people splitting up all over the UK right now after listening to that advice, if they were stupid enough to listen to it. But it's absolutely brilliant. It's so funny. Make sure you check it out right now on AFTV. But it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I can't believe I mean, you're right. Most people have watched that video and relationships are ending all over the country. But we got Julian and Ty. Everyone go check that out. Of course, it's Valentine's Day on Friday. Arsenal gave us something to love, which was 3 points on Saturday. And plenty of talking topics from the action this week. And I thought we'd do, I know obviously you got the Bars Premier League show, but I thought we'd do something where we just kind of go result by result, but just looking at the particular talking points that have impacted Arsenal in some way, shape, or form. You know, whether it be Newcastle, their top 4 form, people saying that's going to play a big part in the Isak saga, whether we're even a part of that, we can discuss that. And Scholes' comments in the week saying that he should aim higher than Arsenal. So we'll explore that. Liverpool pushed by Wolves today, I felt. Although I'll put my hands up, but I was following most of it via the radio, but there we go.
No, I watched it, and I'm telling you, yeah, listen, I think that's just an indicator of it's not going to be easy for Liverpool. It's not going to be easy for us. We found out at Leicester how hard a game that was. Yeah. And you would have thought Wolves at home, Wolves, you know, 4th from bottom, that'd be an easy game for Liverpool. It was definitely not an easy game for Liverpool. And, you know, Wolves could easily have nicked a point in that game. And, yeah, it was very nervy at the end for Liverpool. And I think now it just indicated that we're coming towards the business end of the season. And it was a tough game for it. A great goal by Cunha. Again, this guy, he's a real talent. But no, that was a tough game for Liverpool. And listen, those sort of games, even though they got the points, and if you're a Liverpool fan, you're really happy. There's 7 points clear. But it offers a little bit of hope to Arsenal. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you look at some of the games that Liverpool have got coming up, they got to go away to City. They got Villa, I think, away during the week. They were playing that game early because of they're in the final of the Carabao Cup. Yeah. And they've also got Newcastle. So at that game, watching that game today offers a little hope, but we still got to do our business, obviously.
No, absolutely. We'll definitely chat on that in more detail because I think Liverpool's run of games is fascinating. The away games they've got to come is fascinating. Yes, I can hear the comments already, you know, but what about us? What about what we're doing? And I hear it, but we're still aiming for the top.
It was too, sorry to cut into you there, James. It was too difficult. 2 games that you would have thought this weekend, 2 games you would have thought, Arsenal, easy win at Leicester. Yeah. Liverpool, easy win against Wolves, both of them relegation threatened teams. Yeah. Both games are difficult. Both. Yeah. Goes to show that, you know what I mean, there could be a little bit of twists and turns, but obviously they're in the, you know, they got the points in the bank. And that's always, you know, a big advantage when you got the points in the bank. I mean, just for you get into those other games, right? Honestly, I was watching that Manchester United Tottenham game.
I was going to bring this up.
Yeah, sorry, well, bring it up.
I wanted to start there because I thought let's end the show on a high because that was one of the worst football matches I've ever seen in my life. I mean, that's 2 hours I'll never get back.
You know what, James, watching that game, I know it's been all doom and gloom around Arsenal. I know we've all been angry at Arsenal, quite rightly so, because of, you know, not buying, you know, not helping the team in January. We know, right? We're all angry about that. But when I think about it, right, when I see some of the moaning going on around, like, say, like, for instance, I'll see it today with United. Oh, there's nobody on the bench, they were saying. They brought on Cheeto, who, by the way, now he must be thinking about his decision that he's made to go to United because he probably be playing at Arsenal. He came on, he didn't even touch the ball. He came on Rumour Amorim brought him on with about like 3 minutes to go in injury time. Didn't trust him to come on during the game, which I thought that was quite telling. When you see what Ethan Wanyeri's doing, what Lewis Skelly's doing, you know what I mean, getting the chance. And also, when I think about it, like, they were moaning about injuries, Manchester United. You know, obviously Ahmad's out and, you know, they've got a couple of players out, so their bench was quite weak. You know, Mason Mount's out. But look how terrible they were today, how terrible they've been this season. I think they're in about 15th place. Arsenal have had more injuries and more adversity than Manchester United. We've had games where we've been down to 10 men. We've had injury upon injury to absolute key players, whether it be Odegaard, Ben White, Saka, Havertz, Jesus, key players. And we're still in second place in the league, and we've only lost 2 games this season. And I look at Manchester United and Tottenham. Tottenham have had horrendous injuries. That is true. But where they are, and I just think, actually, do I need to sort of reassess looking at Arsenal and say that Arteta's actually done pretty well to keep us where we are at the moment. I know I know the expectations this season is all about winning the league. It's supposed to be our year, all that blah, blah, blah. But when you see how those 2 teams are, with a few injuries, where they are, how bad they are, you got to give them a bit of credit.
Well, yeah, I don't think the fans, to be fair, have ever been disappointed with the efforts of the players, or kind of what the group. More often than I mean, the cup exits remain really disappointing. But I think in general, I think everyone knows that this squad is kind of playing, maybe not to the level they're capable of, but they're not miles off it. I think it was always a case of the frustration above for not giving that squad the help so that they could climb out of this more, so they could dig themselves out of this rut. Because, you know, you make a great point, because, Robbie, I think we're undefeated in our last 15.
Yeah.
I think we've, you know, since that Newcastle game, which I think was the 2nd of November, or maybe a week deeper into November than that, but it was early November. We haven't lost a Premier League game since. That kind of run would normally have you more than or less than 7 points behind, you know, the title leads. But Liverpool have been good, and obviously there have been so many draws in there. But when you look at our draws, none of them have been the end of the world in terms of, you know, you can draw against Villa, you can draw away at Brighton, you can draw away at Fulham. You know, they haven't really been disastrous. It's just we made. There's a level you got to get to be champions, and for too long we've always just been that bit below. So not quite good enough to beat Fulham, not quite good enough to beat Brighton, not quite, and then it stacks up. And so when Liverpool have had their drop points, ultimately we've just not been there to capitalise.
Has it made you wonder? And I know it's all hypothetical, but has it made you wonder that had everybody been fit, sort of similar to what Liverpool have had, where the majority, they've had some injuries as well, but the majority of their players have been fit. They've not really had any long-term injuries, especially to key players. If Arsenal would have had that, they might be a bit closer, you know what I mean, to Liverpool. It might be a closer thing. I mean,
there's no question.
As I said, I'm looking at United and these teams and Tottenham. They're dreadful. Yeah, they're absolutely terrible.
Yeah, there's no doubt that if you have Bukayo Saka fit for January, if you have, you know, Odegaard, you know, not out for those 2 months, and of course we can talk about the other players. You know, there's no doubt we're a better football team with those players there. But my thing is, Ben White. But my thing is that we had, bar the big Timber injury, we had our real fair share of luck on the injury front last season. So I can't really. Yeah. You know, you are right, but I just think it comes and goes. Liverpool last season had a lot more injuries, and this season.
Oh yeah. Listen, it's not an excuse.
No. And I know you're not saying it is. For sure. The problem is that the Premier League and the demands on players now, you're seeing players drop like flies across, you know, every team. You know, Chelsea just lost Jackson, Man United just lost Ahmad, and these were clubs that were trying to do something in the window to strengthen the forward line, us included. You know, it's a shame that we're not seeing the fittest, best versions of these teams. You know, look at the Rodri ACL out of nowhere. That was like 5 games into the season. So would we be closer? Yeah, I'd like to think we would be closer, of course. But, you know, it's always buts and maybes. I do think as well, Arsenal have been able to strong field 11s. And at times I felt Arteta hasn't done enough with what's gone out there. But, you know, as you were saying on the Spurs-Man United game, for sure, that when you think that only 3 seasons back, Tottenham had just beat us to Champions League football. And now you look at the gulf in class. Man United finished third the year we finished second and challenged for the title the first time, and have actually won 2 trophies in the last 2 years under Ten Hag. And you look where they are. You know, for sure, there's definitely a moment of it's never as bad as we think it is at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Or certainly not at the moment. But at the same time, we also know that the standards that the squad are going for, and they've not been at those standards. So
I was just looking at this guy. He's obviously a Liverpool fan, so he's trying to point out that, you know, Alisson 2 months out. I did say, by the way, I did say Liverpool have the injuries. Jota 3 times injured. Konate 2 months. Trent 2 months. Chiesa 3 months. Joe Gomez 2 months. Yeah, with all due respect here, those are not, apart from Trent and Alisson, and they've got a really good covering Keller. That's true. They're not your key players. That's not like, you know, Saka is the equivalent to Salah being out for half the season. Yeah. Ben White being out for a big portion of the season matches what you're saying with missing Trent Alexander-Arnold. But then Jesus out for the season. Havertz out for the season. You know, we're talking about long-term injuries. Odegaard, 3 months. We're talking about absolute key players.
yeah,
If Liverpool would have had that, and then it's not an excuse because it's our own fault as well, right? Because Mikel Arteta at the start of the season went with a small squad,
yeah,
right? And when you go with a small squad and you get these serious injuries, then you're in bang on trouble. And he's been really lucky that Miles Lewis-Skelly and also Ethan Nwaneri have come in and really unbelievably stepped up.
yeah,
Right. But, you know, I think we've got to give Arteta some credit here because these guys have come in, they've done well. He's got the best out of it. I mean, we saw it on Saturday, you know what I mean? Without a striker, no striker to bring on, you know, he brings on Marino, and Marino scores 2 goals. You know what I mean? Is that a master's class? Is that luck? But it's finding a way when you've got big problems.
yeah.
Whereas I look at United today, they brought on Cheeto, right, when they're chasing a goal with 2 minutes left in injury time. What's the point of that?
Yeah, it was a strange
You
sub.
know?
Wasn't it? It was a strange sub. Well, let me ask you this then. Let's imagine a parallel universe where Chido Martin has stayed at Arsenal. By the way, I don't really begrudge him leaving. But do you think that substitution, 70th minute, 65th, 70th minute at the King Power Stadium, do you think that substitution would have been Chido coming on instead of Marino up front? Do you think?
Yeah, it probably would have been. It probably would have. He might even been Cheeto starting. You know what I mean? Like he would have got his opportunity. Now remember, let's not forget, Ethan Nwaneri starting at 17. Right? Mars Lewis-Skelly, that's the biggest example, right? Mars, because Cheeto, there's nobody else, right? So, you know, although he's been getting game time even before that, Mars Lewis-Skelly, you've got Calafiori, an Italian international, brilliant in the Euros, done well for Arsenal on the bench. And you've got Zinchenko, the captain of Ukraine, an established international, has won the league on the bench as well. And Kieran Tierney, Scottish international, you know what I mean, experienced player on the bench as well. And the 18-year-old kid keeping all 3 of them on the bench just goes to show how much Mikel Arteta has got trust in an 18-year-old kid and believes in him. And I think Cheeto, when you look on it, you think to yourself, did you go too soon? Was the lure of that money at Manchester United, you know, over game time? It's happened to a few players, you know what I mean? I remember, you know, a few players leaving, thinking, you know, you're looking at these 2 guys now in Lewis-Skelly and also in Ethan Nwaneri. I think when that next England squad comes out, it can be really interesting because both of them got to have a shout for it.
I think they do, and Nwaneri in particular. I'd say Lewis-Skelly in particular, with the problems we've had at left back at England. For sure, but no, I totally agree with that. I meant more if Tuchel plays his 3-4-3, I think Nwaneri's so suited to the right of that front 3. You know, that kind of hybrid 10 winger position. It's literally what he does. Yeah, I think he could be perfect for it.
He's brilliant.
You know, because Saka, I imagine, is not going to be in the next squad. So, he might be looked at in that way. And then who knows? I mean, that's another thing I want to explore as we go on to the Leicester Arsenal stuff, because all the talk yesterday was about Mourinho, his appearance off the bench, coming on, scoring. Robbie, there were 2 great finishes.
Great finish.
If we'd signed Ollie Watkins and those were his 2 opening goals, I'd have sat there going, that's what you pay the money for. I mean, in all seriousness, it was that well taken from
clinical,
that striking instinct. Did you see that bit of hold-up play as well, where I think Erdegaard hoofed it up the pitch, and he takes a lovely touch and rolls it into Declan Rice before Waneri, I think, hits the post.
No, it was it's an unbelievable performance, and even the header, great header. I mean, we've seen Havertz this season, those coming off his shoulder and things like easier ones, right? He took that header brilliantly, and the finish for the goal, on his left foot, that was brilliant. It was 2 clinical finishes, and to me, he starts against West Ham.
No,
he's got to start, but I mean, whether he'll be able to keep this up is another matter. But certainly, he offers a bit of hope.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't want to dwell on it, but that Sterling performance. Robbie, I actually find it quite sad. I mean, partly because we need him, but also, I said this on Forever Arsenal, Robbie, that maybe I shouldn't care about this, and to be honest, I don't really. But I think we're at risk in football of Raheem Sterling's career and his legacy in the Premier League almost just kind of being just diluted too much. I mean, this guy blew up at Liverpool and was sensational. Goes to Man City and wins everything domestically there is to win, scoring goal after goal after goal, playing for, some would argue, the greatest manager of all time. And the greatest manager of all time wants you in his team for that long, you're doing something right. Putting up serious numbers, like I said, lifting trophies. Then he goes and puts the England shirt on at the Euro 2020, obviously in the summer 2021. And I thought he was our star player there. I thought he was brilliant. In the 10, out on the wing, wherever you used him. It didn't work for him at Chelsea. And now his Arsenal stint, I wouldn't give more than a 1 out of 10. I'm being really serious.
No, it'd been terrible.
I think we're in danger of it almost being forgotten what he has done as a, not all, wonder kids, star boys, these young players come through. Not all of them make it and achieve anything anywhere near what Raheem Sterling's achieved.
Yeah.
And so I keep thinking, surely there's got to be even 30% of that player still in him. But he just looks miles off it. It's such a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. I mean, I felt sorry for him, on Saturday. Honestly, I was willing Arteta to take him off for his own mental health. He was that bad. Everything could have went wrong for him, went wrong. Remember that time when he dribbled the ball into the box and he just fell over?
He did everything. Every dribble just ran into a player. Then there was one point where he stood the defender up. So he had the ball and he kind of stood up almost facing the defender. And the defender just knocked it away. Just went, all right.
He looked like he looked like what Waneri should look like, a young kid playing for the first time in the headlights. I mean, it was honestly, it was really, really bad. But listen, whilst I might have felt sorry for him in that particular game, he's a professional footballer. He's an experienced footballer, and he has to step up. We need this guy right now. He has to step up. There's lots of injuries. You've got an opportunity. Go and show the world that you're not finished. Either you're finished or you're not finished. It's up to you. Go and show the Premier League that Raheem Sterling is not finished. It's down to him. It's not down to anybody else apart from him.
Yeah.
He's got to step up. Arsenal need him to step up.
Yeah.
So have you got it or have you not? It was Saturday just a bad day? As the other games that you had so far just because you've been a bit of a bit part? Or is this you? This for you to prove to the world.
Yeah.
So whilst, as I said, felt a bit embarrassed for him in that game, but honestly, going forward, bro, you've either got to put up or shut up. It's your time to step up and show everybody that Raheem Sterling's not dead. So let's see. Let's see.
That's how I feel about it. Come on, Raheem. You came with you're going to see the best of me and all that. Yeah. And look, I never actually expect that to come true. I like the fighting talk. And I thought, look, as long as we see a Raheem that can contribute, but we haven't seen anything like that. So I'm really interested because I think Arteta might roll the dice on him one more time. I think he might still start Trossard in the 9 with Sterling on the left and Mourinho on the bench.
I hope not.
Really?
against West Ham. Nah, because I thought he was that bad. Like I thought,
Yeah.
and plus as well, Mourinho's just scored 2 goals. He's got to start. Why are you going to bring him off the bench for? Get him in from the start. You win games with goals.
But are we in danger of going, you know, Mourinho did something, it was very Marouane Fellaini, wasn't it? You know, the way we kind of used him, people were saying, and that's fine. But are we not in danger of going, wow, that worked, so run it again? And the reality is like, no,
What else you got?
All right, fair enough.
You know what I mean? What else you got? We ain't got no. It ain't like, you know what I mean? Like we had a load of attackers on the pitch and it weren't working, and we flung him on with a little, right? You know what I mean? That's it. That's what we got, right? And to me, now try and build up his confidence so he gets confidence in that position that he actually thinks that actually, you know what, I'm a striker. From now till the end of the season, I'm a striker. Why would we, you know?
I can't wait for Transfer Daily in June. Robbie announcing. Now, according to The Athletic, Arsenal are very happy with Mikel Mourinho and how he's been doing up front.
I can see that already. Like there was a guy next to me at the game yesterday, and that's what he said. He goes, "You know what the Cronkies are going to do? You know, we don't need Sesko, we don't need Isak, we don't need anybody in the summer. You know what I mean? But listen, all right, go out and make that be a problem, Mikel Mourinho. Make that be a problem for the summer, and at least it'd be a good problem, right? But he's got to play. 2 accomplished finishes.
Yeah.
His confidence is high. We're playing at home the next game. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Trossard looked much better on that left-hand side. He put in a great ball for the 3rd goal. We know he gets good crosses in and he's more effective on that left-hand side. Sterling was terrible. Start with those front 3 and then Sterling can come on as an impact player.
He's been doing that really well, Trossard, actually. His crossing recently has been sensational.
Yeah. If you've got somebody who can get on the you got someone who can get on the end of crosses and stuff like that. Why wouldn't you start him? Sterling's not going to header in a goal like that, is he?
No, fair point.
So
fair point. Let's go through some super chats and then we'll chat about the rest of the Premier League results.
Yeah.
Leandro says, we just need to hold on for them to drop 5 points and it's up to us. Keep riding until the wheels drop off and pray. Cunha, Williams and Sesko in the summer. Apparently Cunha's got some kind of release clause with the new contract.
Yeah, he's got a release clause in his contract. And I'll tell you what, he is a player of highest quality, man. He was excellent in that second half.
Yeah, good player. Very good player. You can see why we wanted him. Pavanjit says, injuries to Havertz and Saka aren't bad luck. It's gross mismanagement. Both played deep into the Euros, and with the new Champions League format creating more congested fixtures, we got rid of forward depth and ran those 2 into the ground. Robbie, I have to say, I don't fully agree with this, but I sort of agree with this. I do think that Arsenal, even before the injury crisis, I do think this has been going on for maybe a couple of years now. Arteta could have managed squad rotation and management a bit better. And I know that in general, okay, we've had a smaller squad than he would have wanted. He wanted more players. But I don't really know why Saka needed to come on in the account.
Oh, you there, James?
You know, or Havertz needed to necessarily start. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I lost this slide.
Oh, you can.
You're back.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. No, I'm just there were minutes that they got that I didn't really understand why, and I think we knew that there was a Euros. We knew that there was a good chance England and Germany would go far, and we knew that we were light in that position anyway. I don't know.
But then you can argue, right? There's a lot of other teams with the same. Like Salah plays absolutely every game. Right, Van Dijk plays every game. You know what I mean? They were all, Van Dijk was at the Euros. You know what I mean? There's, Haaland plays every game. There's a lot of teams, that are similar. So your star players, when your star players are on fire and they're so important to your team, they do play a lot of games. I think you can say that the small squad thing, which Mikel Arteta has admitted is a small squad, can't work for next season. You need a bigger squad. The team that's had the most amount of injuries this season, you know what team that is? It's not Spurs. It's not Spurs. It's not us. I think we're third.
Spurs, yeah.
Brighton have had the most amount of injuries this season, but they've managed the injuries pretty good because they've got the biggest squad in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's a huge squad.
Last year, they had a very light squad, and they really suffered due to injuries. And this year, they deliberately went out and bought in a lot of players, so they got a big squad. So they've actually been able to cope with the injuries pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? So for a team of Brighton's size. So Arsenal need a bigger squad. Especially, Brighton are not even fighting on the amount of fronts we're fighting on. No. So I think the lesson that has to be learned by Mikel Arteta is that the squad's got to be bigger. We all look at it at the start of the season and we think, yeah, that's enough, but it's not.
I have a real question, Robbie. I don't know if you do. I've got a real question around the intensity in this team. Listen, I know on paper intensity sounds brilliant. Run, 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 run. Wingers press, wingers drop back. Havertz chase all over the pitch, run the channels, drop into midfield. I know it all sounds great in theory, but you mentioned Salah, for example, in the minutes he's played, and Haaland, I think, has played similar minutes. And this is not to describe fantastic world-class players, legendary players they are. They don't, in my opinion, off the eye test, put in the intensity in their running that a Havertz or a Saka does. I see Saka pressing up the pitch, and then if the other team crosses the halfway line, he's dropping all the way to the right back position. You know,
Very
making
true.
tackles. When we have goal kicks, we get Saka or Havertz out on the line and we go long to them. So they're involved in aerial duels, and they're getting clattered all the time. And I saw Havertz against City sprint back into midfield and make a big slide tackle before we went and counter-attacked. And when you're watching, you go, this is brilliant. But if you're asking the same players to do it time and time again, it's just, I mean, eventually something's going to swing.
No, listen, you're right. You're right on that. You know what I mean? Maybe when you look at a player like a Haaland, he doesn't do a lot apart from just score goals. And Salah's not expected to do all the tracking, like you said. So you are right on that. And, it's one of the criticisms that Tottenham have had, Postecoglou, that, the amount of work that they get pushed through. Can that team cope with it? That's why they've got so many injuries to players like Van der Ven. We've seen over the years. Remember when Leeds under what's his name again?
Bielsa.
They'd start off the season brilliantly, and they'd always fade because of the way that whole pressing style that they play constantly, man-to-man marking. So, but I think that's a good lesson that Mikel Arteta's got to learn. If you're going to play this style of football, you can't have a small squad.
No, it's true.
Well, look at this, for
example. Harnav, with all due respect, you're kind of proving my point. Says under Klopp, Liverpool were running far more than Saka and Havertz. Look, I don't know if the data suggests that is true, and that suggests.
And they faded last season, didn't they? Liverpool.
Well, last season they had loads of injuries. They had one. Look at that Carabao Cup final 11.
Yeah, they played the whole final with kids.
But then if you look at the season before that, so had a complete nightmare where they fell out the top four, and the season before that they went for the quadruple, and the season before that they also had Liverpool under Klopp. I've had 2 or 3 that I can remember absolutely injury ravished campaigns, or 1 or 2 for sure, and then one that was a little bit less affected, but still affected their title race.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be looked at.
Intensity running, it hurts, it hits you.
Yeah.
It hits
you.
You're
right.
Let's go through this next super chat. Napster says, ultimately, I think Liverpool win the league, but I think they'll scrape it rather than romp it. Villa will draw and City will beat them. Come on, you Gunners. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about City in a sec, but they might be timing their good run quite well in terms of that Liverpool game next week. But we'll get into that because that was a really good result against Newcastle. Mr. Kaplan says, mighty. Any free transfer daily incoming?
Yeah, people have been talking about me doing a free agent transfer daily. Not going to happen, mate. Not going to happen. Well,
free agent transfer daily would be a bloody good watch. Yeah, no, I don't blame you. Is it me tired? Yeah, I mean, Robbie, you watched the game, or did Liverpool look tired? I mean, I know stats aren't everything, but the game ended, I think, with Wolves having had 16 shots and 51% possession. Now, even in games that are scraped by, that's kind of strange statistically. It suggests tiring, but I didn't watch it, so I don't really want to.
They could have been a bit of tired. I just thought Wolves were really. I thought Wolves actually a bit unlucky to be 2-0 down in the first half. They were actually playing all right. Yeah. And then in the second half, they played some good football, and they kind of stuck it on Liverpool. I think it's just, I don't know about tired. I think it's the pressure now. Every time Liverpool play, they're the hunted, didn't they? So when Arsenal played the day before and they've won the game, they know that they have to win. It can't be a draw. It can't be, And ultimately, they held on, and they've got the 3 points. So you've got to give them all the credit for that. But definitely with some of the games coming up, it was more, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're looking at it, it's kind of encouraging signs, because that game was at Anfield and it was touch and go for the last 15 minutes of that game, right? They could easily have dropped points, and that's what we need them to do. We need them to drop points.
Yeah, TNT. Yes, they said Arsenal had the most injuries, which is interesting. Well, let's have a look at some of the other results. I've got them here, Robbie. So these are the Premier League results from the weekend.
Yeah, love that Brighton one. Oh,
It's
love that Brighton one. Chelsea. Remember, Chelsea going into December were above us and only a couple of points off Liverpool. And they have completely capitulated. These Chelsea fans who love to talk about Arsenal bottling it and this and that, they've all gone quiet. They spent £1.5 billion on players, a lot of them buying from Brighton, and they've just been turned over by Brighton twice in a week. And I'm telling you, that goal by Matoma is one of the best goals I've seen for a long time. His touch to take that ball down, right, from the goalkeeper, that was absolutely unbelievable. And they could have scored more. I mean, Chelsea are really poor at the moment. And, you know, let's hope they stay that poor when they come to play us.
Yeah, it was a sensational goal. I mean,
yeah,
we don't do enough of that, I think, going long and finding players in space. Marmoush scored not a similar goal, but he was kind of played in behind.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we don't go from back to front as well as other teams, but unbelievable goal. But again, all the ball, not a single shot on target for Chelsea.
Awful. They were dreadful.
This is how they lined up to deal with their striker crisis sort of thing. I mean, when you're having to line up a £50 million Nkunku, could be worse.
A striker crisis, right? They got in Nkunku, like you said.
Fair, those are my words. Yeah,
they brought in Nkunku. They sent João Felix out on loan. I don't know what madness they're up to as well. And then they spent so much money on forward players, right? And honestly, they don't. You know, Jadon Sancho is not working for them as well.
No, he's not.
You know, it's not like us where we've got nobody else. Right? You know what I mean? We've got nobody else in reserve. They do have, and Chelsea have got an excellent academy. And that's, again, let's give Arsenal credit again. 2 academy players who've come in and really stepped up this season, right? Chelsea, apart from, I think it's George who they've been bringing on in some of the games, but I don't see nobody coming on from their academy, really. And they've got, you speak to anybody in football, Chelsea's academy is supposed to be the best.
Yeah.
Theirs and City's. And where are the players? They treat it like a farm. They just send them all out on loan instead of then giving them a chance in the team. You know what I mean? But that was a really comprehensive win by Brighton.
Do you know who else I want to ask you about?
Oh, I lost it again.
Because
you're going to ask me about who?
I want to ask you about Pedro Neto.
Yeah.
Because this is a player that I really wanted at Arsenal, and I was really annoyed we let this one go. I thought we need pace in the front three. We need someone who can play left and right, who could cover for Saka, but also probably be a starting player. And I think we've wanted him for 3 years. I think summer 2022 was when we were first linked.
Yeah.
And I couldn't for the life of me understand, why have we not gone for this guy? What? I mean, is it just injuries and he's kept quite fit at Chelsea? But listening to some Chelsea fans, they're not that impressed.
No.
He looked really good against us. I thought he looked against us at the Bridge. And then I think he's only got something like 6 Premier League goals in his whole career. I'm going to get the exact numbers up. But, I mean, that's pretty extraordinary. What have you made, Robbie?
Yeah, no, he's been pretty ineffective for Chelsea. So he's when you watch him, when he's on his day, he's one of the most exciting players you can see in the Premier League. And I wanted him as well. I wanted him at the, Arsenal. But I'm just looking at it now and saying, thank God we didn't sign him, because that would have stunted the growth of Ethan Nwaneri. And Ethan Nwaneri, now, I think that right-hand side problem has been solved.
Yeah, it has.
You know, that right-hand side, what we're going to do, Saka's out and that's sorted now, as far as I'm concerned with Ethan Nwaneri.
Yeah.
But Neto has been very disappointing. He was disappointing in that game. They're wide players. They got a lot of players, Chelsea, that flatter to deceive. Right, Neto's one, Madueke's the other one. You know what I mean? 1 week you watch him, brilliant. The next week he's anonymous, and it's the same with Sancho as well. So, you know, and obviously they had Mudryk there before, before his, you know, we don't know what's happening with his drugs ban, but yeah, they're really hit and miss. And again, you know what I mean? This is what I said. I know it's his first season as a manager, you know, Maresca, but he's fallen off a cliff. And despite all the injuries and problems that we've had, we're still in and amongst it. So you've got to give credit to Arteta for that. But you know, they're really flaky. They are.
Yeah, 13 Premier League goals in 133.
Yeah,
games.
that's pretty poor. I mean, I'm surprised at that.
It's not great output whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think the raw talent is absolutely there with Pedro Neto, but it's just been interesting. I look, I don't watch every minute of every Premier League game. I do listen, and I've just been surprised at the narrative around Neto online. But I think the talent's there. I think he'll get it right. I mean, for me, for example, I'd rather Pedro Neto over Jadon Sancho, but you'd think that one would have had a much bigger impact at the club than the other. And
yeah,
I don't know, maybe they haven't. But anyway, on Chelsea and Pedro Neto. Who do you want to talk about next? Let's get the games back in front of me because the tabs decide to refresh. We talk about Man City.
Yeah,
because this was a really good win for them.
Shocked me.
Really good win for them.
I predicted the Newcastle win this game. I was shocked by that result. And
did you?
Yeah. I thought Newcastle win. I went for a 2-1 to Newcastle. I don't think City have been playing very well recently. They had a really taxing game during the week, obviously against Real Madrid. Disappointing result as well. And they've got Real Madrid in the second leg. So I was thinking it's not the team you want in the middle of that playing Newcastle. But Newcastle were really, really poor. I mean, why didn't they play like that against us? They were so disappointing. Right, they were awful on the day, and you know, City took full advantage of it. And Omar Mamouche, a player, this is when fans get angry. Player that was available, player that Arsenal could have went in and got, player that Arsenal were linked to. Obviously, didn't want to pay that sort of money. He was banging in the goals in the Bundesliga for Frankfurt. It's City that's gone out and bought him, and ever since he's arrived, he's looked lively. In all the games he's played, he's looked lively, and he banged a hat trick in, and that was a very impressive performance by him. And these are the things that get Arsenal fans upset. That was a player, when they say there's nobody, it's January, he's coming. And he looked good. He's looked good in every game, to be fair.
He's looked brilliant. I think he looked live in his debut against Chelsea. I thought at the Emirates he looked decent. A lot of Arsenal fans won't give him much credit, but I thought he looked decent, he looked quite bright. And then what I like is they're using him. They're using Marmouche, Foden, and Savio, or Savinho, should I say. They're all getting a bit closer to Haaland. So Marmouche is actually, you know, he's getting goals quite central. You know, it's not just give him the ball wide and go take players on and make magic happen. He's getting into dangerous areas. And, you know, I think these three were his first 3 goals for Man City, right? He hadn't scored or had it? Yeah.
No, did he? I think he scored one. I think he scored one already.
That's what I thought, but I might. But
I thought he scored one. Maybe it's in a cup or something. But he you know, I think he's made a good impact since he's come. That's been a good January signing. Excuse me, came with a big reputation, banging in the goals in the Bundesliga.
Yeah,
Arsenal could have got him.
But why were I can stomach the idea of Arsenal losing a battle for a player with Man City. You know, when all is said and done, they're still the 4 times champions. Pep Guardiola, the players they've got, whatever. I can't understand not having knocked on the door and tried to find out about this player. I find that really strange.
Weren't even in for him. You know, when some of the links were being spoken about, it was like, yeah, Frankfurt not going to let him go. But City made it happen. Put the money on the table and made it happen.
Yeah.
And that would have been a brilliant signing for Arsenal because he can play as a striker. He can play wide. He's brilliant on free kicks. Crazy.
When I look at these two teams as well, the players I look at, you know, Marmouche, Foden, Haaland, Savinho, Gordon, Isak, Murphy's obviously look good for Newcastle. We look at the bench, the likes of Doku, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. These are all players that can impact the game in attacking areas. Have they? Yeah, Callum Wilson came on, Harvey Barnes. You know, he wasn't a cheap signing. You realise that Arsenal, I mean, some investment needed in that front 3. Now, I want to talk about Alexander Isak, but I just want to caveat it before I bring him in, okay? I know position, and I totally get it, right? It's like we haven't been, you know, we're not winning trophies at the moment. We've been competitive, but we're not winning the Premier League. There's probably the likes of Real Madrid and others that might be into an Isak, as Liverpool reportedly, or there's rumors that Liverpool might be looking into. Yeah, at Barcelona. I'm sure he'd be brilliant at Barcelona. So I'm not saying for 1 second that if he wants to leave, that we're going to put up 100 million and pick him up. But the Premier League table, which we have here, has Newcastle now at 7th in the table. I think they're good enough to get top 4. I think there's still a good chance they get it, but that's where they are right now. How do you feel, even if it's not necessarily just Arsenal related, how do you feel about the race for Isak and what the situation looks like if Newcastle go another season without getting Champions League? Because obviously since being there, he has got it. It's no guarantee they win that Carabao Cup final. I don't know. Do you think this has a major bearing on his future?
I do. I think, listen, remember, I think 5th place will get you Champions League this season as well. Right? So, but I think Isak is too good to not be playing in the Champions League and not to be challenging for titles and stuff like that. So I do feel that if they don't get Champions League football this season, he's going to be tempted. Definitely tempted. Whether they want to sell him, and we know that Newcastle are in a lot of trouble financially. It seems crazy to say because they've got the richest owners in world football, but because of PSR rules, they didn't buy anybody in January. Eddie Howe was moaning the other day about how they need signings to move on to the next level. And players like him, not only would he bring in a lot of money for them so that they could reinvest, obviously they wouldn't want to lose him, but obviously the player himself is going to look on it and say, I need to go because these chances are not going to be around forever. You know what I mean? And we know he's had injuries and stuff like that in the past. Injuries could happen. So I do think he's going to be vulnerable in the summer if they don't get into the Champions League.
Yeah.
You know, I really do, because there's big clubs after him. Barcelona want him. Liverpool are interested in him. They're probably going to lose Salah. Arsenal need a striker. We know that Arteta's a massive fan of his. That already is 3 huge clubs that would love to take him. So I think, you know, I think if they get in the Champions League, I think they hold on to him. I think if they don't, I think Isak could move, and I think Arsenal would have the 100 million plus. No one's going to pay 150 million for him, but I think, you know, he'd probably be vulnerable for around about 110. He's going to be vulnerable. I know what that O'Malley they're saying. Why would Newcastle want to sell him? It's PSR rules. They not been able to. I don't think they've bought a player in the last 3 transfer windows. And also, even I was looking at that Minter the other day, who's playing for Brighton, really good player. They sold him Newcastle because of PSR issues.
Yeah, and made a significant signing. I think like a Lloyd Kelly's come in, and then I think he left already.
And they sold Lloyd Kelly because of financial, trying to balance the books because they don't want to end up dropping points. It's a serious situation for them. So, you know, of course they don't want to sell him. But if they don't make the Champions League, I think they could be, I think it's very vulnerable because you look at the players they could sell, it's either going to come down to either him or Bruno Guimaraes, I guess, or Gordon. Gordon's just signed a new deal. I don't think it'd be Gordon. I think Isak's vulnerable if they don't make the Champions League. They got to make the Champions League, I feel, to keep hold of him.
I think they do too. And even if it wasn't PSR pushed, I think Isak's playing at a joke of a level. It's not like he's playing well and everyone feels like if he goes to a particular club he might have a jump. No, he's at those levels at Newcastle. Some of the goals he's scoring, he's finishing,
unreal.
You know what he's doing for this team and the teams he's doing it against. The goal against Liverpool, the goals against Arsenal, the goal against Man United. He is tearing teams apart. And when I apologies, when I look at him, I go, I don't see any risk attached to this deal. I mean, even if a Barcelona, a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a PSG, whoever, even if they drop 120 million pounds on him, I don't see much risk. I think you're signing one of the most exciting, not even exciting because he's already there. There's nothing to be excited about. We get it.
But the thing is, he's there already, right? But think about how players think. He's there already and he's exciting in the Premier League. But he wants to be exciting on that highest level so that he's up against your Mbappe's and your this and your that, and he starts to get compared to those guys, right? And you're only going to do that if you're playing the Champions League. And that's why I think he's going to be, I'm not saying he's going to go to Arsenal. Not sure if Arsenal would cough up the amount of money that's required. I don't know. But he's going to be vulnerable because, you know, you've got big clubs looking for strikers. As I said, Liverpool going to be looking for a striker because Salah's probably going to go. Nunes will probably move on, right? So they'll be looking for a striker. Barcelona, Lewandowski's like 36, 7. They're looking for a striker. Arsenal, and there's others. So I can't. If they don't make that Champions League, they've got problems.
Yeah. Could he? I wonder if Bayern could look at Isak. Probably
No,
not.
I think Bayern are good in it. They've got Harry Kane, so
yeah, but he's got a release
way.
clause. Hasn't he got a £60 million release clause? I could see Tottenham panicking and paying that, bringing him home to the Premier League. Harry Kane, I think, has got a release clause.
I don't think Bayern would sell him. He's been absolutely brilliant for them. Why would they sell him? You know?
Yeah, I suppose. Actually, to be fair, I've just heard it. Why would he leave Bayern to go to Tottenham now? But I don't know. I think at some point
from Tottenham. Why he would have go back?
He'll come back to play for Tottenham in the Premier League.
Yeah, when he's about 40. But right now, the guy's on fire in the Bundesliga. He's breaking records at Bayern. I said it before, right? When he went, listen, as much as I don't like Tottenham and stuff like that guy, Harry Kane, I think if he'd have gone to City, he'd be scored the same amount of goals as Haaland, if not more. I think he's got a better all-round game than Haaland.
Oh, I definitely think he's got a better all-round game.
And he's as good a finisher
in front of goal, maybe.
He's as good a finisher as Haaland as well.
Well, Haaland's numbers are like
stratospheric. Yeah, he's in a much better team, Haaland.
Yeah.
I think if Harry Kane would have gone to City, he'd be doing the same. Look what he's doing at Bayern. He's breaking every record. He is a clinical finisher.
No, unbelievable player. I hate that he played for them so long.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go through these super chats, and then we're gonna go through some other really interesting results from the weekend. So Nate says, this season feels like such a missed opportunity. Liverpool looking vulnerable. City have regressed. Club's lack of ambition is sad. Summer must be huge. Can I just say something on Liverpool looking vulnerable, okay? Because I will do the whole hopium copium thing. I believe that Liverpool look like a team that the Arsenal of last season could have really pushed with them for the title.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd say they look vulnerable. They've still only lost one football match, and it came on the 4th game of the season at home to Forest, right? They've otherwise picked up points in every other game. I think they've won 5 of their last 6, and they're still 7 points clear. I get it. I know what you mean. There's something about Liverpool that doesn't quite feel like the juggernaut of Man City that we were coming up against. So that feeling of, well, we pushed City, so why could we not push these guys if we put some form together? I totally get that. But City were doing something on a level that was like, I've never seen before. With the amount of 90-point tallies, Liverpool will probably still get to comfortably 86 and more, probably. And they will still be an unbelievable side. You know, I get it.
Listen, they've been the best team this season.
Yeah,
they've only lost, like you said, they've only lost 1 game. They've been excellent in the Champions League. They've got a really excellent defense, and they've got an excellent attack. And they deserve to be winning, the league at the moment as things stand. Right now, how are they going to cope with the pressure at the end? I feel with, your Van Dijks and your Salahs and people. Remember, they've won it before. They're going to cope with it, unless I always keep thinking to myself, they need a little bit of adversity in there.
Yeah,
right?
I know what you mean.
And that a little bit of adversity, and I don't wish injuries on any player, probably would mean one of those players is out for a couple of weeks or something like that, because at the moment, they're still doing the business. You can't argue with it, man. Even today, yes, they were put under a little pressure. Yeah, but they won the game. Yeah. They won. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's been a bit of a, and that come on the back of a rough week, because remember, they got knocked out of the FA Cup by Plymouth. That was a real shock. And then, the late equaliser at Everton. So, but they're still at top of the league at 7 points. Yeah. They're still the favourites. It would take them to capitulate a bit and we got to be perfect. And that's where the anger comes in from the fans, because we didn't do nothing in January to help the situation. That's where I still find it absolutely appalling and baffling that we didn't do anything, because we're not far off. They got Villa during the week. Away. Yeah. That's not an easy game. That's a game you could drop points in, isn't it? Like, wouldn't be a massive surprise if you go to Villa and lose, or you draw that game. Then they got City. We've got 2 games coming up. I think if they get through these games, they're going to be looking ultra strong to win
If
it.
they win these next 2 games,
They're probably going to win it.
I mean, already they've
Probably
got
over.
one hand on the title, but
Yeah, but you think to yourself, right? Suppose they drop points in those 2 games. Did the board in January give Mikel Arteta, right, the tools for us to be perfect? Because we've also, we've got West Ham at home. All right, we should win that, based off our current form. But that Nottingham Forest away is a tough game.
Yeah.
And despite the win at Leicester, we didn't look great for a lot of that game, right? We're going to have to play a lot better than that against a better side. So they're still in the driving seat, Liverpool. They're still in the driving seat.
So some quick maths, because we do like to do the copium thing. If Liverpool draw say they draw at Villa Park and lose against City, they'll have played 27 games and have 61 points. If Arsenal beat West Ham next weekend, we'll be on 56 points with a game in hand. So we'll be 5 points behind Liverpool with a game in hand. That, for me, that's not a crazy universe. It's not like crazy that could be the outcome. But knowing Arsenal will be 2-0 up and drop points, and Liverpool have won their 2 games, and then this will be clipped up. So there we go. But
we got to win our games, right? And we got to we have to beat West Ham, and it's about pressure, because what you could see today is the pressure on Liverpool. The crowd were a bit. I mean, they were very nervous at the end. The players, Liverpool players, looked a bit nervous. That's what pressure brings. That's what that victory over Leicester brought. If Arsenal would have drew against Leicester, then they know they go out there, they just cruise to a win over Wolves probably, and then they're just like one hand on it. So it's all about pressure right now, and it's pressure on them, but it's also bigger pressure on us, because we can't afford to be anything apart from perfect.
Yeah. Mr. Hussein says, Robbie, you should do a show where you watch extended highlights of classic Arsenal games, Henry at the Bernabeu, the Champions League final loss 06, and then go through whether the good moments, bad moments.
I can't watch that Champions League. I was at that game, man. I don't want to watch it again. I don't want to see it.
I do not blame you.
It's a good idea, though. It's a good idea. I like the idea.
Let's take it back to some of these results then. I'll tell you what stood out to me as well. Fulham. Very good win that against Forest. Fair play.
Smith Rowe.
Yeah, Smith Rowe nodding one in at the back post. I think it's good to see a few little vulnerabilities in Forest. And look, I know that they just beat Brighton 7-0 the other day. But what happened the week before? Didn't they lose? Did they lose 5-0?
They've dropped up. They lost 5-0.
Where was that?
That was to was it Bournemouth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly who it was. And
again, it's pressure. It's pressure, James, right? It's like all of a sudden now you're the hunted. You're no longer Little Forest.
Everyone plays differently now.
And, people set up different against you now. Everybody knows that Forest is what they've basically been doing this season, catching every team on the counter-attack. Now all of a sudden teams are like, well, hold on, maybe we'll sit a little deeper against you. You lot you're a good side.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? They looked, and they've had a bit of a shaky week. They lost against Fulham. They only just scraped through on penalties in the FA Cup. I think it was against Exeter, right?
Yeah.
Looked very vulnerable at times in that game, even though they made change. All of a sudden, the pressure's different. Teams look at you different as well.
Yeah. Well,
Forest are coming to town. This is a huge. Normally, Fulham versus Forest, probably Fulham, the fans, everybody would have treated that just like a standard game. All of a sudden, that game now is like, hey, this is a big game. We're playing against Forest. All the Fulham players are, I want to put in a big performance. All of the fans are up for it. It's a different game. This is what Forest going to have to cope with from now till the end of the season. This is why a lot of times sort of surprise teams that come through can end up falling away a bit, because you're not the secret no more. You're no longer a secret.
Yeah.
The secret's out. And everybody wants to take your scalp as well. So Bournemouth took their scalp. Fulham have taken their scalp. A couple of defeats for them. So we got to go away there in a few weeks' time. So it's going to be a tough game regardless, because I do feel they're a good side. But 2-1, and I've watched the game, Fulham could have scored more.
Yeah, I'm encouraged.
Good side Fulham as well, by the way.
Yeah, very good side. I really like what Marco Silva's done there. I'm encouraged by the fact that they're starting to concede some goals, because when we go there with as blunt an attack as we've got,
Yeah.
it's good to see 2 conceded against Fulham, 2 against Exeter. I don't know if they rotated. Look, this is an unbelievable
Yeah, they rotated.
result.
They rotated in that game.
Yeah.
But they still brought on all the big guns towards the end. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And they
there you
still
go.
had a decent team out. So
Even this, I mean, even conceding 2 goals at home to Southampton isn't great. Obviously, the 5 at Forest and at Bournemouth. And listen, I actually did watch quite a bit of this game against Liverpool. It's a terrific result, and we know that Liverpool probably have the best attack in the league in terms of the way they play, but also some of the personnel. I get it. Liverpool could easily have scored quite a few more goals in that game.
yeah, no, there are a lot of chances. Yeah.
And I think when you look before that, it was clean sheet, clean sheet, clean sheet, clean sheet. I think
Pressure.
the fact that now the goals have started to creep in a little bit. I hope that is a look, because I'm respecting Forest. For anyone going, oh,
No,
look,
good
you worry
side.
about Forest results. I'm absolutely respecting Forest. When we go there in a couple of weeks, that is not going to be easy whatsoever. So
Tough game.
I want to see trends, that there's something to suggest we can score some goals, because we don't have the best record when we go there anyway, let alone going to this version of them. So let's look at the Premier League table. I'm going to get it up in front of me, but I just want to show it slightly differently because we can zoom in on it a bit more. Right, here we go. You can see this now. So, Robbie, let's get some thoughts and predictions of where we are. 25 games played. I mean, the season's absolutely flying by. It's only the other day that we were in Philadelphia, sort of talking about, the home, Wolves at home, first game of the season. It comes around so quickly, just you whiz through it. I'm not going to ask you about. Forget the title race. Actually, let's do it. Let's do it. Your prediction.
Yeah, listen, you have to say Liverpool are going to win it. You know what I mean? They're 7 points clear. They're looking good. They've got the points in the bank.
I agree.
They've got no injuries to any of their key players. Everything's just running sweet. And it's going to take, as I said, for me, it takes some sort of set, which can happen, but they need to have a setback.
Yeah.
They need to have some sort of big setback. And at the moment, it's all going well. So
I agree.
They're the favourites. They're going to win it at the moment. I think we'll finish second. Forest, that's 2 defeats now. It's looking a bit ominous. They're up against teams of experience like Man City that will pick up wins. Bournemouth, they've been on fire, man. I mean, they're doing
So I was
really,
going to
really
ask
well
about all this. So what do you make of the top 4 race? I mean, City seem to be doing just about enough to hang in there, and I think they will always just keep winning enough games. I think if anything, they might have clicked a little bit now, because I thought they were okay for most of the Real Madrid game. I'm surprised they actually lost that game. But yeah, I don't know. You got Forest, will they hang on to it? I think Bournemouth's story has been unbelievable this season, and then Chelsea, Newcastle.
I don't think Chelsea
to make it.
Yeah, I don't think Chelsea are going to get top 4. I mean, listen, remember we said top 5 could get it. I could see. I'm a little bit worried. Well, listen, we need to beat Forest, but it would be a lovely story for Forest to get in the top 4. But it's looking a bit ominous now with a couple of the recent results that they could get caught. But I think City are definitely going to get top 4. I was thinking Newcastle could get into here, but I think City, and then it's one of those Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, and Bournemouth and Newcastle. One of them is going to get that. But as we said, 5th place could get it. Villa, by the way, they remember when Yardman was telling me that we should get Unai Emery. Look how they're falling away now.
Villa's it's gone really under the radar. But I think they obviously did brilliantly in the Champions League, making the top 8.
Yeah,
we know they've got very good players, and look, they could still easily put a couple of wins together, and they're clawing themselves back into the Europa League spots, which is probably what the prediction would have been for many. But they did get Champions League football last season. And they've added some really good players. So I agree.
They've added players, and then it's so inconsistent. One week they play really well, and next week they're vulnerable. You know what I mean? That was very disappointing for them to draw against Ipswich at home. And Ipswich had 10 men for a lot of that game. So
you're right.
disappointing for Villa. Really disappointing.
So I hate to say it, I have a feeling that Forest and Bournemouth, and I am wanting them to make it. I really, really am. But I just have a feeling that City, Chelsea, Newcastle might just get their act together enough to take 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, I think one of them might make it. I think maybe Forest. They got the points at the moment. They've got a good defense. They could still make it probably into that. You never know. But
maybe
the way Chelsea are playing, I don't think they're going to make it into the top 4.
Oh, City actually go to Forest very soon.
Mm.
Are there any good head-to-heads there? Yeah. Oh, Forest Chelsea's the final game of the season.
That'd be a good game.
Cool. That's a great game. Do Forest have to play Newcastle? No, they might. Oh yeah, next. Oh, yeah. Newcastle Forest is next.
Yeah, some good matchups.
They host us, so they got some big games for us.
Yeah, they got some.
That's going to be really interesting. Let's we'll keep an eye on it. I think the top 4 race has got really fascinating.
But you didn't look at the bottom there, right? I mean, we know the 3 that are going to go down, but how lucky are Manchester United, right? That at the moment, the bottom 3 are that bad. Like United at the moment. And I'm telling you, I keep saying this. I'm looking at this Ruben Amorim guy. And what has he done? 2 things. I think it's 1 year literally since Ineos took over. They've been a disaster. United fans need to just look at these things real. Since they've come in, what have they done, Ineos? All their decisions have been poor, I think. Yeah. All of them. Maybe apart from getting in Amorim, we'll have to wait and see long term. But they kept hold of Ten Hag when they shouldn't have done. They spent loads of money on players that they shouldn't have done. They're making all these controversial cuts, to behind the scenes. The ticket prices have gone up. They've become, I just do not know what they've done. And then Ruben Amorim, since he's come in, and I get it. It's tough. It's hard. He's a guy who comes with a great record. He's done great things over in Portugal. But what has he done? If you're a United fan, what improvements have you seen in the team? And I keep hearing this thing about, but, when he gets his players and this, we see the financial troubles they're in. He's not going to be able to buy a whole new team, is he, in the summer? And I just don't think he's getting the best out of what he's got. Look what Moyes is doing. Moyes has got a way worse team than Man United. And look what he's done since he's come in at Everton compared to Amorim. How many games has Amorim lost? How many games has he actually won in the league?
Yeah, it has been. Basically, a manager bounce exists for almost everyone except for Man United, it seems. Because you thought that they'd at least have some sort of. But then, having said that, when they have got it right, they've drawn at Liverpool, played brilliantly. They won at the Etihad. They knocked us out of the FA Cup. So there's something funny about Man United.
But you know what, right? Let's have a little look back at those games. I was chatting to my United mate about this today. Let's look at them games, right? That the game against Arsenal was, you won on penalties. It was a draw, right? We basically put everybody behind the ball. The game against Liverpool, similar. Actually, I think I'd actually put that game against Liverpool one of their best performances since he's been
there.
They
were terrific against.
Yeah, they played good in that game. I'm going to give them that. The game against City, that was another one of them dreadful games with United where basically the mistakes by the Edison and they capitalised on that with Ahmad. But I don't know, man. If I was a United fan, I think they're going to start getting a little bit worried if he don't start getting a few wins in. Because it's just, they're lucky. They're lucky the bottom 3 are as bad as they are because how many games has he lost?
Yeah, no.
He's lost a lot of games, man.
Amount, yeah. I would. I'm only guessing. I would guess about 5-6 Premier League games already. I might be wrong, but
more than that.
More.
He lost maybe about 3 at home at least, 3 or 4.
Yeah, you're probably
losing to Tottenham as well.
Terrible game of football. I kept thinking if United just go up one more gear, they could score 2 or 3 goals here. But then I felt the same about Tottenham. If Tottenham just went up to 1 or 2 more gears. But anyway, let's go through the final super chats. Everybody noted says, I think we should wait till the end of next summer window. Don't see him spending 200 million. Zoom in a striker and a winger equals 200 million. I said on AFTV that it's going to cost. If you address every position Arsenal need to address this summer, I think it's going to be a £300 million window.
Yeah, they ain't spending that.
Nope. I have a question, James. Who regulates referees? Can they be sued by anyone or any team? Are they all above the law? It's a great question. I mean, the PGMOL, I kind of wonder this as well. Like, why, how does the PGMOL run the way it does? You know,
I think the FA is above the PGMOL.
Right, fine.
But they're a law unto themselves, PGMOL.
Lawrence says, I don't know why everyone's getting excited after the win yesterday, which is basically papering over the cracks. For 80 minutes, we were, you can all see the emoji, we out of jail. Okay, Robbie, I don't know about you. I didn't think we were good against Leicester. I didn't think we were shit, though. I thought, you're still going to a team fighting for their lives. They're not great. We know that. You know, they had a few openings, but not a lot. We were lacking creativity. We know that. You know, when Airy hit the post, then he hit the crossbar. Look, I'm not trying to tell.
We weren't great. We weren't great. That guy's right, but
yeah,
we got the job done. Just like Liverpool weren't great today, and they got the job. That's what Premier League football. Not every game you blow every team away. You know what I mean? Especially like they defended very well, Leicester. You know what I mean? I was chatting to one of their fans at the end of the game. He was quite upbeat. He said, like, if we play like that till the end of the season, you never know. Because the best defensive display we put in for a while. So, listen, it wasn't a great performance by Arsenal, but it's about getting victories.
Yeah,
about playing great. You know what I mean? What disappointed me, the first half was very, very lackluster. I noticed quite a few teams were a bit like that this week. But job done.
I'm not trying to convince anybody that was a good performance or an acceptable one. It wasn't. But I also don't think it was.
No, it weren't terrible. It weren't like we didn't have no shots.
2-0 away win in the Premier League. Take it.
Yeah.
On we go.
Yeah.
But yes, we have to go up levels against West Ham. We know that. All right, Robbie, a big thanks for joining me. I enjoyed this. We should wrapping up the Premier League action. It's quite good.
You know what? Sorry, James. Just before you go there, I was thinking about that hammering. I just looked at it. Right, so
go on.
Just to say, it's not a United hate fest, but 14 games he's had now in the Premier League since he's taken over.
It's quite a lot.
8 losses, 4 wins, 2 draws.
Oh, that's really bad, isn't it?
That's shocking.
That's really bad.
8 losses in the Premier League. 8.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect
people get fired for that. You know what I mean? 8 losses since he's taken over.
I don't think there's a world in which they should sack him.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
I just wonder what that world is.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I don't know. There is such. There's no point in sacking him. Listen, and I do understand he has to get his own players and he's got a system, but it ain't working, is it? And he's been worse, worse than the previous guy. But let's see. Long may it continue.
Ruben interim. Come on. It's the kind of thing expressions.
Expressions, he said Ruben average. That's what he calls it.
Oh, no. Well, obviously, after this weekend's action, everyone, you can catch Robbie with X and KG on Best of Enemies next week. So look out for that on DR Sports. And we're, of course, live here on AFTV every 7 p.m. every single day. And for Arsenal, for those asking, we just wanted to wait on the Liverpool scores because, of course, that does set a tone for the weekend's reaction. Of course, we know that they got the win. We'll discuss that on for Arsenal tomorrow. And there is going to be Graham. Unfortunately, can't make Tactical Insight tomorrow. So love to Graham. But I will be doing a in focus on Mikel Merino, Arsenal's new number 9. So look out for that on the channel.
Brilliant. Can you also focus in? I'd like you to focus in on Sterling as well, man. Tell us what's gone wrong. Maybe you need a week to prepare for that one.
That's a tough show, Robbie. That's a tough show. But yeah,
I'll be interested. I'm really gonna be interested to see what your Merino insight. That's gonna be brilliant. Looking forward to that.
Mikel Giroud up front. I thought, honestly, he just looked exactly like him. But there we go. Yeah. Everyone, big thanks. We'll catch you all on the next one.